I think it's kind of nice to have an activity that you do together with other people that's not in front of a screen.
Yeah, it's basically playing pretend with rules.
Play it at least once. If you don't like it, fine, but you should definitely try.
It's actually, in a lot of ways, a lot more similar to video games than a standard typical board game. You know, think of like an open world video game where you can do whatever you want.
It's basically that, except instead of playing on a screen with a controller, you're playing with all your friends with dice and pencils and paper.
It gives you tools with which to create characters and whatnot, and then you play the game by just, going on adventures with those characters within the rules of the game. The DM is kind of the one who operates everything other than the player characters.
A DM is more so focused on just presenting situations, providing the setting, kind of like those beginning ideas. And then being a player is more like taking those ideas, playing in that world.
When I used to play, I would come home. My dad would always say, like, "Oh, did you win at D&D?" It's like, well, that's not really what happens. You can't win D&D. You can lose it if like everybody dies or something.
I was at a bookstore. It might have even been in the States, but I just saw the D&D starter set for 4th edition. And I just decided, I read the back of the box, so I just decided to buy it. Pretty much just because it sounded cool. I was probably 13 years old, and I had to find a whole bunch of people to play with me.
I think the first campaign I properly ran was in grade 9. We needed a group to play regularly, and so I got my friend Tyler, 2 of our other friends. I kind of made it up as I went. We would play, Wednesdays when we had an early out at school. We were looking for a 4th person in the party. We were down 1. And there was this girl who I'd recently met in drama class, who I thought was possibly nerdy enough to be talked into this kind of thing, and I was sort of right. So I asked her if she would play a wizard in D&D, and she said no. And then I kept trying to convince her, and I was telling her more about the game. Oh no, it's really cool because you can do whatever you want. And she said, oh, can I have a monkey in it? And I'm like, well, you can't start with a monkey, but you could buy one later in the game or something like that. And she said, I'm starting with a monkey or I'm not playing. And so I gave her a monkey.
I watched a lot of Critical Role, especially through the pandemic, because there was nothing else really to do. And when I started working at Safeway, I just desperately wanted to tell anybody about it. And so I rambled to pretty much anyone that would listen. And then we had a closing shift together, and I rambled about D&D for the entire shift, 4 hours more or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and then he was like, she's cool, gonna date her.
Oh, so there's one little thing, which is that that girl that I played D&D with so many years ago is now my fiance. So that's pretty cool. I thought you were asking me about broader creative things, not does Dungeons and Dragons get you babes? To which the answer is maybe your results may vary.
I feel like D&D has helped a lot with many different aspects of my life, like leadership skills. As someone who runs a lot of the games that we play, being the one in charge and leading the game has actually helped me in other leadership avenues, even as I'm going to school to be a teacher. I feel like D&D has actually helped a lot with that skill set.
Having to be in the position of a DM kind of forces you to like get the creative juices going. I don't consider myself a particularly creative person, but you're kind of forced to be if you have to come up with new stuff. It forces you to come up with something so you can't fully succumb to writer's block.
I would say that one of the proudest things I get to do when I'm playing D&D is when I come up with just like a crazy idea that I didn't think anyone but myself would enjoy, and I present that to the players at my table, and they're engaged in it. They love it, and it makes me very happy, very proud to see them engaging with something I created on that level. And I feel like you can't really do that with many other mediums, where you're the one creating something and you get to directly see around you, around the table, how they're engaging with that.
For me, I draw all of our characters and stuff, so having that as a creative outlet, that's why I started drawing, because I wanted to have a character and have a drawing of them. Then I just did it until I got what I wanted. And I think it's made me less shy. Someone messaged me asking if I did commissions, and I hadn't really thought of it because I didn't think I was good enough to sell my art at that point. I've done a few commissions now, only a handful, like 5, but it's always so exciting that someone is giving me their baby, their character.
You can draw your characters, you can draw maps like when you're running the game. It helps with your writing when you're planning sessions. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of different ways that D&D can build your skills.
I have ADHD, and it definitely comes up in the game and how it works and how I go about playing as a character and so on. It definitely helps with being able to be engaged and being able to focus on something, because it's not like I'm doing many things all at once. Like, just being in character and having to think, okay, well, what would this character do versus like what would I do personally in any situation. I find that helps a lot in being able to engage in stuff even if I don't find it interesting in real life. Like, sometimes at work I just have to put on my work character in a weird way where it's like, well, I might not care about this, but I can make myself care about it if I think about it in a different way.
If you have friends who have played D&D before, maybe ask to play a game or two with them.
It can certainly seem intimidating to start playing a tabletop role-playing game, but I feel that once you're actually sitting down at the table and you're with people that you know, people that you trust, it's a lot easier to just like start playing.
D&D is kind of a broad family. Like, there are multiple different editions of D&D, and I would say the current one, which is 5th edition D&D, is pretty good in terms of being user-friendly for new people. You know, there are some numbers on the page, but the math is really not hard. It's like roll dice, add number to dice, say what number got. Like, it's not the most complicated thing in the world.
On Discord, I'm in a group that is specifically women who play D&D, so there's like a lot of people in that one, but in person they definitely exist. It's just, I think some people get intimidated because it is one of those things that tends to be a bit more guy heavy.
Yeah, girls play D&D. In fact, if my own personal experience is that they care way more about it than the guys do. Screwing up and messing up the rules, or people doing crazy things, or the dice being cruel and capricious like they so frequently are, is a source of great fun and hilarity. So, you know, just lean into it and have a good time. I mean, it won't be perfect. It just won't. So don't worry about it. At the end of the day, you just have to play it.
I would definitely recommend that anyone tries to play D&D or any other tabletop role-playing game that interests them. I know so many people that when it was presented to them as an idea, they went, well, I don't know if I'd really enjoy that. But then when they gave it a try, well, I'm still playing with some of those people, and it's been like 8 years on.
Yeah, I would recommend that people play it. I think it's a lot of fun. It teaches you to be creative and get out of your shell, especially if social interaction is something you struggle with. And if it's not something you struggle with, then you're going to have a great time. So
I would 100% recommend that people play D&D. It is a fantastic game, and even if you're unsure about whether you think you'd like it, just try it. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, highly recommend.